So what we have here is a FireFox OS mobile device. That is a ZTE Open, which is a 1 GHz, 256 meg of RAM mobile phone. This means that actually Android would not run on this, the newest Android. Only 3-year-old Androids would be available for that, and it means that actually it is affordable for people in markets that cannot afford iPhones and cannot afford Android phones. Other than that, it's actually a phone that works like any other phone. You've got all the applications you expect to have, you've got your Facebook, you've got your Twitter, you've got some games, you've got SoundCloud, you can call friends. I mean, it's good to have a telephone on a telephone, right? And once that's been loaded here, as actually you can call friends, and your friends have been imported from Facebook, so you don't need to type in all the names. You can add new contacts as well, but it's much easier just to load them in, and then you actually have them on your phone already, because we didn't want to duplicate that. The main differentiator that we have to other operating systems is that all of this is HTML5. All of this is done with web standards. So this means that anybody who can build a website can build an application. It also means that the applications are much smaller than native applications. So when you have like a Twitter client that's 23 megabyte on Android, this Twitter client is 3 megabytes. So if you pay for every megabyte in your market, then this would be a good thing for you to have. The other benefit of it is that actually, as these apps are HTML5 applications, they can be indexed and they can be searched. So if I don't know the name of an app, but I want to have an application for a certain use case, say for example, I want to find a restaurant and I want to see a review of it, I can actually start typing restaurant. If I start typing it here, it's really hard to do. Restaurants. And once I have restaurants, it found me Yelp, OpenTable, Urban Spoon, Food Spotting. These are not on my phone yet. These are just loaded from the web as opportunities for you to do reviews. So if I click on Urban Spoon now, it loads the application so I can try it out. And if I like the application, then I can install it, but I don't have to. So it's like going to a website, looking at it, bookmarking it. Nah, I don't want to bookmark it, I just want to try it out. So if I now like Urban Spoon and it gave me the experience that I wanted to have, I can do a long click on the application itself, and then it will ask me if I want to install it on the operating system. And once I've got installed, then it actually shows up on the phone. I actually stopped the install right now, so let me do that again. So if I do a long tap on Urban Spoon here and say OK, it installs it, and if I go back to my applications that I have on the device, you will see that Urban Spoon is now here. So we made app discovery and app experience the same as browsing the web and as simple. So instead of having to go through an operating marketplace, enter my data, enter my credit card details. The other very important part, especially for the markets that we want to start with, which is South America, Eastern Europe, emerging markets, is that all these applications run with can be bought without a credit card. So we do billing with the client, with the carrier. So if you are on Telefonica, for example, the apps that you buy will be on your telephone bill and not on your credit card. Which means also if I buy a SIM card for my children and I put 40 euro on it, they can buy 40 euro worth of apps, but they cannot buy more, and my credit card doesn't give me a shock next morning. So this is what FireFox OS is about. I've got full control over my data, I've got full control over my privacy, and I've got full control over the traffic that I actually have as well. So now I have a new SIM card in there, and it actually tells me what the SIM card is. It analyzes it right now and how much data has been used already by it. So I can say, give me how much data I've been using, and then it gives me a graph and says how much data I got over 3G, how much data I got over Wi-Fi, and when I reach a certain amount I can get an alert and it can tell me, hey, from now on it gets really expensive, don't get any more data down, or we can even stop the phone from downloading data after a certain amount of data has been reached. So what we've done with this is basically make it affordable for people to have a smartphone without having to ruin themselves. Because an iPhone in Brazil is like 4 months of wage. That's not good enough. The web is for everybody out there, and there's 8 million people out there that we want to have on the web. And with this, they can afford it, and they have the right operating system to play with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, and then some questions.
Yeah.
What we see in all the media is an interface, a look and feel, okay?
Yeah.
But behind,
yeah,
the kernel, the protocols are implemented by Mozilla, are by to a third party, it's the community. which kind of development is inside the operating system?
The operating system under the hood is Linux, and it's the same core that's under Android. So the drivers to the hardware are the same that Android devices have. We just didn't take the Android Java layer, but instead used FireFox directly on top of that. We defined the APIs that talk directly to the hardware, that allow you to do telephone calls from JavaScript and do vibration from JavaScript and all these kind of things. And we standardized them with the W3C as proposals. So for example, the battery sign up here is done with a JavaScript API that says navigator.battery, and this one is available in Safari, in Opera, in Internet Explorer, and in Firefox. So we did that across the board. This is all about HTML5. This is not about Firefox as the only browser out there. So all the specifications that we have in there, we throw out as open standards that other people can implement as well. The operating system has been built by Mozilla, but that's by paid people from Mozilla, but also people from the community. And as a lot of the system in the operating system in Gaia, which is the interface system here, has also been written by Telefonica. So our partnerships with the carriers is not only about billing and about money, but it's also about engineers from the carriers building things that they need for the phone. So the great thing about that one is, like, if you go to a market that we don't know about but Telefonica knew about, they can build things that make sense. For example, we have a FM radio here where you can listen to radio on your phone. Nobody in England or in America would have thought that it's necessary, but in the Brazilian market a lot of people want to listen on their phone. So we built a standard that actually allows you to reach the phone in the FM transmitter in a phone via JavaScript, and they built the app for us, and together we actually now have a FM radio on the phone.
Okay, and the app is HTML5 also.
Everything is HTML5 in this. There's no other technology in use.
Okay, and for example, for the games, of course in games you can build casual games, but for people that wants to play in a more level, that wants the best graphics possible, you are thinking to implement native technology to show better graphics in games in a time?
There's a few things that are going on there. It's limited by the hardware. The hardware here that we have should be very affordable, should be very cheap to actually be able to be sent out without a contract and all these things. To make a 3D one-person shooter game running on this is physically impossible. It's we have hardware acceleration. We do as much as we can on the video card. We actually found that an Android device running on Android Honeycomb, which is the only one available for this hardware, compared to the games that we have running on FireFox OS, that FireFox OS uses less memory and is much faster. You will not get a 3D shooter game on these phones, but that's not the idea of them. But FireFox OS could be installed on any phone as well. In the future, if people want to have a faster phone to install FireFox OS on it, you can have your full gaming experience as well. On the desktop Firefox, we actually have 3D shooter engines that perform with 60 frames per second perfectly. So when it comes to like gaming, and we go to partners like Electronic Arts, on the desktop they're thinking about partnering with us with open technology, but there's no way to actually make this one perform like an iPhone 5 because it's just not the same processor and the same speed.
Okay.
What is great about having a device like that as a developer is actually I have to force myself to write a lot of good code that uses not much memory and performs really fast. Which means if we put FireFox OS on tablets or on bigger phones later on, we don't have that problem because we already optimized it for the worst case scenario. We learned a lot how to make Firefox on desktop faster as well by optimizing for these kind of devices. So for example, the scrolling here is done directly on the graphics chip. It's not done on the main processor. This means it's much faster that way. The here maps, like the maps from Nokia, that was a massive thing to make them behave the way they do right now. Because on a device with the same specifications with Android, this would not be possible to actually be this smooth scrolling and allow it to do a multi-touch zoom in and zoom out. So we worked with Nokia on optimizing their JavaScript together with us to actually make this work, and it performs nicely on a device that other operating systems would just say like that's not worth it.